Good afternoon, everyone. We are here today with Johannes Kruse, the co-coordinator of the ELD initiative, to talk about the Economics of Drought report. Welcome, Johannes.
Thank you. Welcome.
So, to first off, to kickstart, can you tell us a bit about the report and the key objectives that motivated the creation of this report?
Yeah. Thanks. So, thanks for having me. The Economics of Drought report is a global flagship report that was published by the UN Convention to Combat Desertification, the ELD initiative, and other partners during COP16 in Riyadh. And it served as a high-level contribution, really, to one of the main topics of this conference, which was, as we all know, drought. And the main objective of this report is to really showcase and make the economic case for nature-based solutions as a key strategy for proactive drought management. And that is, we are all aware of that, means managing and adapting to droughts before they occur. The report had at least three functions. It was there to present and with that raise awareness for the costs and benefits of nature-based solutions, to really show that proaction pays economically. Then second, it provided guidance on how to turn this information into action. What needs to be done to make this happen. And then thirdly, it was there to better connect nature-based solutions and drought and those communities behind it. Because we did an analysis of the national drought plans that are available through the community of learning, which is a great asset. And we found that very few of those national plans actually mention nature-based solutions. Some do mention sustainable land management practices, but also not to the extent that we think would be useful. So that really kick-started that discussion for us to bring across those messages that we wanted to bring across with the report. To close off, what the report does is that it synthesizes existing scientific knowledge in a manner that is digestible for policy. And we enrich this knowledge base with a range of case studies from really all around the world, from Australia, from India, Chile, Tunisia, Burkina Faso, et cetera, et cetera. It was, in the end, a great partnership effort to do this report with lots of close partners and friends. For example, the Malone Institute from Australia, the Water NGO from India, Nature Conservancy, lots of universities, Common Land, GIZ, just to mention a few.
Thank you for giving us the key highlights. So one of the things that you do in the report really is highlighting the importance of nature-based solutions to drought. For our audience today, can you give us a couple of examples of what these so-called nature-based solutions look like, and what are their associated benefits?
Yeah, thanks. This is a great question because it dives right into the center of the report. And as I said, our main task here was to make the economic case for nature-based solutions, to show that they pay off. And this really entails a kind of a paradigm shift, and think of functioning ecosystems and healthy land in a different way. Look at it as an investment, as an asset, and don't look at it only from a cost perspective, or only looking for public money, for example. But to do that, you need to really have a close look at the economic benefits of it, and the true benefits, not only the ones that are counted in markets, but also those that are more invisible to markets, the regulating services, the cultural services, etc., because they make up a large chunk of the real benefits of nature-based solutions. And we are all aware that nature-based solutions, or NBS in short, comprise a great variety of actions to manage and restore ecosystems. So, for example, forest restoration, grazing management, agroforestry, soil fertility management, water harvesting, etc., etc. So and the evidence shows from our report that nature-based solutions do actually reduce the economic costs of droughts, and they perform better under drought conditions compared to conventional land management. And so the main mechanism here, before I give you the examples, the main mechanism here is the ability of nature-based solutions to improve the capacity of land and soils to capture and store water and replenish aquifers. So that function of soils, or that function of soils to work like a sponge, to hold water for longer times, is really critical here. And let me give you 2 examples from the report that we have. There are really only few cases out there that directly compare the economic costs of droughts with nature-based solutions to costs without nature-based solutions. This has rarely been done, but we have 2 in our report, and we are very happy about it. One from India, from water, the NGO I just mentioned, and one case from Sao Paulo in Brazil, which is courtesy of the Nature Conservancy. So in that Brazil case really shows that in the drought that occurred 2014 to 2015, that drought led to a damage cost of 1.6 billion Brazilian real. I think that by then that would have been like something around 500 million US dollars. So quite the number. And the analysis showed that if nature-based solutions had been employed, the economic cost would have been significantly lower, almost a third. So if you imagine that you have multiple billion US dollar costs from droughts, that is quite the reduction in economic terms. And the second example comes from Australia, where our friends at the Malone Institute have an amazing approach called landscape rehydration. So in South Wales, they have a 23,000 hectare project site where they employ measures such as in-stream structures, riparian vegetation to improve water retention and soil health. And this leads this leads to higher agricultural productivity, water savings, water quality improvements, and better carbon storage. If you would scale this approach to all of Australia, the total benefits for the whole country would be 1.3 billion US dollar per year, and that would outweigh the costs of around 700 million US dollars per year significantly. So you see, there's a strong economic case to be made for nature-based solution. One last point that I want to bring across is that that I think is really important when you talk about nature-based solutions, particularly in drought context, is that we invite readers to look at nature-based solutions from a triple dividend perspective. The first dividend is the one that I just described, that and nature-based solutions reduce damage costs of droughts. But then the second and third dividend describe the way that nature-based solutions also lead to economic benefits, to better income for the land users and development opportunities, as well as broader societal and environmental benefits. And what we find with our analysis, what we find with our analysis is that really the vast majority of nature-based solutions are economically viable, even regardless of the first dividend. So even if you don't calculate the reduced or avoided drought costs, there would still be an economic case to invest in nature-based solutions, which makes nature-based solutions really a no regrets solution in drought context. And the evidence from 15 years of working at the EOD initiative, we did around 50 case studies in 30 countries, suggests that that every dollar you invest in sustainable land management can bring up to 27 US dollar in return in terms of societal and economic benefits. And this is really a great investment opportunity in that sense, because I know few investment projects that have such favorable cost-benefit ratios. So to conclude, there is really, the evidence shows that a strong economic case for implementation and investments in nature-based solutions at scale.
Thank you, Johannes. It's very clear that proactive action when it comes to NBS for drought management really pays off. A 1 to 27 investment ratio is staggering. So one of the things that you mentioned in the report is a 4P approach to financing NBS for drought. What does that mean exactly? What does this approach entail, the 4Ps, and what are some promising innovations for financing?
Yeah, thanks. So let me start off with saying that the second question now about the benefits paints a very clear picture. But unfortunately, and that is your last question now, the situation is a little bit more complex. So you can't just take the $27 and say, okay, off you go and go to implement it, because what we see is that this is not taking place. So there must be something in between that holds back implementation at scale and needed investments. And that is because nature-based solutions are far more complex and challenging than this simple number suggests. So just to give you 3 examples what this means. Many benefits of nature-based solutions are, economically speaking, hypothetical. There's no real cash flow involved with it. If you don't have a carbon market, then your carbon sequestration it does not pay off in terms of cash flow. Some nature-based solutions, and particularly, for example, forest restoration, this can happen, have negative returns in the first years. So it's actually you make a loss when you do it in the first years, and only afterwards they outperform the conventional solution. Because in the first years you may have very high initial investment costs or long maturation times of the nature-based solution. So trees need time to grow, and thirdly. There's also really only a very limited track record of nature-based solutions in investments projects, because this is so new that only few have done it, and even fewer have done it successfully. So these are all reasons why we still have that funding gap for nature-based solutions of I think several $100 billion per year, which is an enormous sum. So it's very clear that public money alone and philanthropist money alone will never close that finance gap. You need to draw in private money as well. But in order to really change this, and then now we're moving to the 4Ps approach. But before that, saying we need changes in 3 dimensions. The first one is we need to increase the supply of investment-ready nature-based solutions projects. Some would say we need bankable NBS projects. So we need to build really solid and strong business cases around nature-based solutions. How that can be done in a scientifically rigorous way and based on biophysical data and stuff, so that we don't do anything that we regret afterwards, can be read in the report. Second, policy plays a really important role in creating an enabling environment, for example, for nature markets to thrive, and to crowd in funding from also from the private sector, but it needs to have strong accountability measures. Again, go check out the report and read more details there. And thirdly, and that's where finally we had 4Ps. We need innovative finance mechanisms, that can channel those investments from the private sector to where they are needed and where they generate returns. And this is where the 4Ps approach comes in. 4P stands for public-private philanthropic partnership. And it basically refers to a mechanism where the public sector, the private sector, and philanthropic organizations pool their resources and capabilities to fund NBS projects. So this can be done, for example, through blended finance. And blended finance is basically a risk-sharing, cost-sharing mechanism. Because of all the challenges and uncertainties the private sector would apply a very high risk premium on investing in nature-based solutions, which translates in a very high return expectation. And to lower that, the public sector and philanthropic organizations could do a risk sharing or burden sharing, and take over higher risks, kickstart, for example, such a project until later private money comes in when the NBS project is more mature. So it's basically a mechanism to draw in private money, and this innovation, I would say, I mean, there's already a lot about it, so it's not even really an innovation anymore, but it's part of a much larger landscape where a lot of innovation is taking place in this field, and this is a very good thing, I think. If you come up with something new, you need to test it out, see what works, see what doesn't work. And what we're currently seeing is this 4P approach, but we also see a lot of work going on with green bonds, biodiversity credits, the overall emergence of nature markets and how to make nature markets work, learn from carbon markets, what needs to be learned and adapt to nature markets. We see these new disclosure standards coming up, particularly the one from the Task Force on Nature-related Financial Disclosures, which really is a key mechanism for finance institutions to assess and manage their nature-related risks, and has moved the sector so much already now. And lastly, also on the public side, we now have the first ever international statistical standard for natural capital accounting, the SEA ecosystem accounting, which has been an enormous leap to measuring nature-based solutions or ecosystems and sustainable land management in a robust and coherent way that is compatible with the system of national accounts and GDP calculations. So there's really a lot of innovation out there that's currently going on, and we try to bring this or to give readers an overview of that in our report.
Thank you for this very deep overview in terms of the innovations. I think one of the things that the report is able to do is not only highlight the opportunity in investing in NBS, but also highlighting and identifying the different bottlenecks that currently exist. And you've mentioned a couple along the lines of risk bearing, but also our short-sightedness when it comes to investment time horizons, the return in the short term versus in the long term, and why certain actors might be risk averse to invest in nature-based solutions, as what they want is short-term gains. So perhaps for our audience, just in conclusion, what would you say are some of the key take-home messages from the Economics of Drought report, aside from, of course, reading it?
Absolutely. So let me keep it really short and crisp for everyone that is listening in. First, nature-based solutions are a key strategy for proactive drought management. This is really the core message here. Second, the vast majority of nature-based solutions are economically viable. So there's really a strong economic case for investing in them, even in the absence of drought. Let's look at nature-based solutions as an investable asset also. And then third, in order to make this economic case real and get to implementation and investments in nature-based solutions at scale, we need to strengthen the supply side of bankable nature-based solutions projects. B, policy needs to create a favorable enabling environment. And C, we need to continue and get real with innovating on funding vehicles to mobilize investments and crowd in private money. If you want to have more information, go to eld-initiative.org and check out the report there. Thanks.
Thank you very much. This was Johannes Kruse from the ELD Initiative. And again, go and read the report. Thanks.